Hey everyone! I'm in the kitchen, but this time I'm not pricking out or sowing seeds or potting on. I'm actually making some food. I can't wait for this one. So I've been back from the plot. Oh, I've got an itchy nose. I've been back from the plot for about half an hour. I'm absolutely Hank Marvin, starving. Now the thing was today in the garden, when the sun was out and the wind had dropped, it was an absolutely gorgeous day. As soon as the sun went in and the clouds came over and the wind picked up, it was so chilly, really chilly. So this is the perfect little meal to make when I come home. It's perfect for two reasons, which I'll tell you in a second. So it's my basic tomato soup recipe, and then at the end it's going to have some beans. So what I'll do is I'll tell you how to make it as a tomato soup, because I love tomato soup, I absolutely love it. But then you'll see at the end what's going to happen with the beans as well. It's not rocket science, really not rocket science. That's a degree I don't have. I don't have a degree in rocket science. Can you actually get a degree in rocket science? I bet there's one of you out there with a degree in rocket science, let me know. Anyway, stop digressing. Oh, I want to digress on one thing before we start. Can you see my apron? I don't know if you can see it. It's British Garden Birds, and right here, where my heart is, there's a robin. I love my pinny. It was one of my leaving presents from the girls on my old ward, Robin Ward. So it's very special. I quite often don't wear a pinny, end up splashing myself, especially with tomatoes, and then rue the day I didn't wear a pinny. So girls, thank you so much. I love it, love it, love it. That's all the digressing done for today. So I've got things bubbling away already because otherwise it will take forever. Oh, just one other little thing. There's going to be a couple of stages to this. I'm going to stop and start with the filming. Now, the editing program I'm using at the moment doesn't allow me to fade a scene out and fade a scene in, or sort of mesh them together. So it's a bit jumpy, which is really annoying. And I, when I view the videos back, think, oh, that was a harsh jump. So I'm going to look at using some of my savings to invest in a better editing program, but for now let's work with what we've got. I hate buying stuff, but I appreciate you guys sitting and watching the videos when it's all jumpy and annoying. Anyway, last night I got a load of beans and chickpeas soaking, which this morning I then boiled and prepped to be making some salads during the week. You can see from a couple of weeks ago, it's in the kitchen playlist, the rice and bean salad, absolute staple. But I thought actually I'm going to do a few more beans today because I was kind of half of a mind that this is something I might fancy this afternoon after the allotment, because like I say, it's been quite chilly once the sun goes in and the wind picks up. So, I'm just giving them a stir now. Ingredients. Here's another thing I have to learn. So I'm digressing again, oopsie. I'll have to learn how to do some graphics, just follow the link and all that. But until I do, this is your ingredients. Already in the pan, we've got a couple of average sized carrots, couple of sticks of celery with their leaves, couple of cloves of garlic and an onion. I've completely run out of white onions, so it's a red onion, which I think I prefer white in this, but never mind. I'm down to, I think, about 20 or so red onions, though I messed up on my numbers last year, but I've put more in this year. Another point, digressing again, keep a note of how much of something you sow and how much you harvest and how long it lasts, because then if it runs out you'll know to grow more next year. Enough digressing, Vivi. So that's bubbling away. Let me show you what else we've got on the go. I have got here some gorgeous tomatoes. I have got some white beans, helder, and some chickpeas. This is all, oh sorry, wobbly. The tomatoes I'm using today were actually, they're some of the ones from the freezer, because we're getting to that time of year when I want to start emptying the freezer in order to give it a defrost and its annual clean. Obviously the beans are stored dry, so that's not an issue. I'm just going to have a little check because I think it's time. So, carrots, celery, onion, garlic, chopped up, not too fine. Sweat them down for about 10 minutes in a little tiny drop of oil and a bit of water, so it's kind of part frying, part steaming. They're nice and tender now, sorry for all the banging. And now I'm going to add the tomatoes. So this would be the equivalent, if you bought them fresh with their skins on, it would be about 800-900 grams. Skinned like this, it's about 600 grams. Or I guess if you were using tinned, that would equate to, how many tins is that, about a tin and a half? Why would you use tinned? Use your own. Give them a bit of a mush around. You could actually add another half a kilo, 500 grams of skinned tomatoes rather than stock. However, my tomatoes are getting smaller now as well. I've got probably about 20 pounds in jars, in bottles, and about, I think about 10 pounds left in the freezer. So I'm getting to that stage of the year where I'm just eking everything out. So I'd rather use a bit of stock to bulk this up than, because it's going to have a great tomatoey taste anyway, but rather than use a whole nother portion of tomatoes. So I've just added about 600 mils of stock to that. So I guess in total it's about 1.2 litres in terms of the tomato and the stock. So I'm going to let that bubble for about 20 minutes. That will further soften all the veg. Now here's the thing, if you want it as just tomato soup, let it bubble for about 20 minutes. After it's finished doing its bubbling, blend it, boom, tomato soup. You can even pass it through a sieve after you've blended it if you want it really smooth, but at that stage I just want to eat it so it doesn't get, it never does get blended. This time I'm not going to blend it as tomato soup, it's going to be tomato and bean. So what I'm going to do, there's my, oops, lovely chickpeas. This is, hang on a minute. This is about a cup. Now in terms of cup size, sorry, in terms of cup size, it's never occurred to me, cup size. In terms of cup size, we're looking at a C. Sorry. Vivi, pull yourself together, girl. I converted to cups. Sorry. I converted to cups about, we'll cut that bit. I converted to cups about 3 years ago because I can't be bothered with the faff and of weighing things. And I now, oh lordy, I now do things according to cup size. So if I'm doubling up, I just think I've gone from half a cup to a full cup. I'm sorry, I'm so unprofessional. Anyway, I digress once again. So, about half a cup dried, sorry, about quarter of a cup dried will yield about half a cup rehydrated and cooked. So as I said, I did a load this morning for salads. So I've got about half a cup of chickpeas, and then what I'll do when the tomato soup bit is done and I want to blend it, I'll blend it with the chickpeas, because then they're gonna thicken it, so it's gonna be a really kind of hearty broth. And then with the helders, once it's all blended, I'll put it back in the pan just to warm through, just to let the white beans warm through. If you were a genius with timing, you would actually have your beans on the boil on one side and your soup preparing on the other side, so you could just chop them straight in the soup. But as I said, this was done this morning. I'm going to have no beans left. This was done this morning for salad, so I'll pop them in the blended tomato and chickpea, leave it for 5 minutes, let it all warm through, and then I'm going to pig out. So come back in a few minutes once the blender has done its blitzing, and we'll have a little pig out. Okay, we're back. Did you miss me? I missed you. Actually, you didn't miss me at all, because this is a continuation. I missed you. So the veggies, tomatoes, the little bit of stock, they've been hobbling, bobbling, toiling and troubling away for about 20 minutes. So now it's blendy blitzy stage. So like I said earlier, if you want to have this as a tomato soup, literally the stage it's in now, blend it, gorgeous, gorgeous tomato soup. I guess you could even have it cold actually in the summer, like a sort of gazpacho. I'd probably cook it first if you've got issues with onions, because raw onions. Anyway, I'm not having it as tomato soup. I'm going to have it as a beanie soup. And I've just realised I've left my glasses somewhere. Hang on a tick. Left them over there because I was writing things down. So what I'm going to do is the little half cup of chickpeas, I'm just going to whack them in there for a minute, give them a scrudge around, and I'm just going to blitz one little cupful for you to see how it kind of thickens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blitz the whole thing, and each time I only have a small blitzer. I need to get my big blitzer back. Once I've blitzed it, I'll put it in a second pan, so that all the blitzed stuff is in one pan and the unblitzed is in another. But then eventually I'll put it all back into the cast iron pan, because the cast iron pan is going to hold its heat beautifully, so that then I can tip my white beans in to warm them through. Anyway, let's crack on and have a little looky-see. So a couple of scoopies, actually a little bit more, maybe some of the liquid. So with each scoop I'm going to make sure I've got some of the chickpeas, because what I don't want is to snarly up my blender by having one scoop that's full of chickpeas and no liquid. Okay, noisy, noisy, noisy bit. I've done it again. Turn the blender on, Vivi! You can tell I've worked really hard on the plot today, can't you? Because my mind isn't on it. Now let's see, I wonder if this will show. Is that going to show? Let me see if I can do it this way. I don't know if it will. I'm going to try and dribble it here so you can see how it's kind of thicker. Well, it's not kind of thicker, it is thicker. So I'm just going to drop that in there a second. So like I say, if you just did the tomatoes on their own, with the carrot and celery, it would be quite a nice sort of fine blended, so it's got a creaminess to it, but it'll be a fine soup. Whereas putting the chickpeas in now is going to make it the actual body of the soup is going to be much thicker. Then with the addition of the white beans in a minute, you're going to have that gorgeous thick broth that you're eating, plus that little bit of bite with the beans. And actually, for a day like today when I've gotten a little bit cold, gotten a little bit tired on the pot, it's going to give me a lovely energy boost, and it's just going to make me feel so warm and lovely inside. So I'm going to get on and blend the rest of this, come back in a tick, we'll add the beans, and then we'll have a taste. Okay, see you in a second. Okay, so now it's all been blended. That's 2 carrots, 2 sticks of celery, couple of cloves of garlic, onion, about 600 grams of tomatoes skinned, 800 with their skins, about 600 mils of stock. It's bubbled away for 20 minutes. At the last minute I've chucked in half a cup of chickpeas, blended it all together, and we've ended up with, look at this. I don't know if you can pick up from there how thick and lush that is. Actually, let me have a little taste now. You could completely do this without blending the chickpeas in. If you wanted to just blend the tomato soup and then chuck beans and chickpeas in later, fine. If you don't want to blend at all, then I would suggest just make sure you chop your carrots and celery quite small so they're not huge, lumpy, chunky, bumpy bits. But now, star of the show, this is some of last year's last year's stored beans. They're going to go in. I'm just going to give them a scrudge around. Like I was saying earlier, the cast iron pan retains so much heat, and all I really want to do is warm the beans through, because having soaked them overnight in water and then boiled them this morning, they are cooked, so they're safe to eat. I just want to warm them up a bit. So what I'll probably do in a minute when you guys have gone is I'll probably put the lid back on, let it have a really, really good warm through. But before then, I'm going to stick my face in here and try a bit. And before I get anyone commenting on double dipping, this is all for me. Ain't gonna be no double dipping. Well, apart from me. Let's have a little bit of that. This was actually the perfect ticket after a chilly day. The blended chickpeas give it a bit of thickness and a bit of body. The occasional bean and a spoonful makes it more than like a lunchtime. Like, I think soups are quite lunchtimey, excuse me. Because there's no chew to them. Okay. I know I say this every time, but you lot seriously have to just sling your hooks now, because I've got to get my face in the trough. That is so good. Oh, the smell. So, once again, I always say it and I'll continue to say it, there's no salt or pepper added, no extra flavourings. The vegetables will sing for themselves. If you are used to adding salt to all your cooking, I would say just start to reduce it. Let the vegetables speak for themselves. This is gorgeous. It hasn't cost me a single penny, apart from the cost of the seeds. But if you think about it, one tomato seed costs me about, if I was buying them rather than saving them, it costs say 10p. From that one seed for 10p, I may get 10 pounds of tomatoes. So a pound of tomatoes in there has cost me a penny. And actually I probably get more than 10 pounds per plant. How much does it cost for carrot seed? For bean seed? It's a no-brainer. So yeah, get sowing now to plan for next winter and next spring, when you can be eating this kind of gorgeousness out of the freezer, out of the larder. Who needs shops? Grow your own, scoff it, fill your face and have the biggest, smuggest smile ever. I will see you all soon, but for now, I've got to do some eating. So cheerio, take care.